Once upon a time, in a quiet town nestled between rolling hills, there was a young man named Robert. He was an artist, with a soul as deep as the oceans and a heart full of dreams. His days were spent painting the world around him, capturing moments of beauty, from the first light of dawn to the golden hues of sunset. Despite the joy he found in his art, Robert often felt a sense of loneliness, as if there was a piece of his heart that was waiting to be completed. He had loved before, but those loves were fleeting, leaving him wondering if true love even existed. One rainy afternoon, as he sat in a small cafe near the town square, a girl walked in. She had an air of mystery about her, like a story just waiting to be told. Her name was Lily. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall, and her eyes were the color of the autumn sky, soft, warm, and full of secrets. She was different from anyone Robert had ever met. Where others saw ordinary, he saw the extraordinary. Something about her smile, the way she moved, spoke to his heart in a language only it understood. Lily sat down at the table next to Robert, not noticing him at first. She was lost in her own thoughts, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee, staring out the window as raindrops danced on the glass. Robert couldn't help but admire her, captivated by the way the world seemed to pause around her. After a moment, he gathered the courage to speak. "Excuse me," Robert said softly, his voice barely rising above the sound of the rain. "I hope this isn't strange, but you look like you're lost in thought. Is everything all right?" Lily looked up, a little surprised but not uncomfortable. Her lips curled into a gentle smile. "I'm fine, just thinking about things. Life, you know." There was an honesty in her voice that made Robert feel an instant connection. He smiled, unsure of where this conversation might lead, but certain that it was a moment worth having. They began to talk about life, art, dreams, and everything in between. As the rain fell harder outside, they shared stories and laughter, each word a step closer to something neither of them could quite name yet. As the days passed, Robert and Lily spent more and more time together. They walked through the town's cobblestone streets, hand in hand, and explored the woods that surrounded the village. Lily was full of stories, of places she had been, people she had met, and the dreams she had tucked away. Robert found himself painting her, capturing the essence of her spirit on his canvas. Every brushstroke seemed to bring them closer, as if he was not just painting her image, but the connection they shared. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and purple, Robert took Lily to the top of a hill overlooking the town. The world was quiet, the only sound the whisper of the wind and the rustling of leaves. "Do you believe in love?" Robert asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily turned to him, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sky. "I do," she said softly. "But love isn't something you can just find. It's something that happens when you least expect it, when you're not looking for it. Like finding something beautiful in the most unlikely place." Robert's heart raced, his breath catching in his chest. He had always believed in love, but this was different. This was something deeper, something more real than he had ever imagined. He looked at Lily, his eyes searching hers, as if trying to find the answers to questions he hadn't even known he was asking. "I think I found it," he said quietly, his voice full of meaning. Lily smiled, a tear glistening in her eye. "I think I have too." And in that moment, everything changed. The world seemed to stand still, as if acknowledging the bond they had formed, a bond that was more than just words or gestures. It was a quiet understanding, a love that needed no grand declarations to be known. They didn't need to speak. Their hearts already understood what the other was feeling. From that day forward, Robert and Lily were inseparable. They shared their lives, their dreams, their fears, and their hopes. Every moment spent together felt like a beautiful melody, a song that played only for them. They traveled together, exploring new places, making memories, and discovering more about each other every day. In the quiet moments, when it was just the two of them, Robert would often find himself looking at Lily, his heart full of love and gratitude. She had come into his life like a gentle breeze, changing everything without even trying. And he, in turn, had brought a kind of peace to her heart that she had never known before. Through every challenge, every obstacle, their love remained strong. They supported each other, lifting each other up when the world seemed too heavy. They grew together, not as two separate people, but as one, their hearts forever intertwined. Years passed, but their love never faded. It only deepened with time, becoming more powerful, more enduring. And as they grew older, hand in hand, they looked back on the life they had built together, knowing that it was the most beautiful love story they could have ever written. In the end, it wasn't about the grand gestures or the perfect moments. It was about the quiet, everyday moments, the ones that spoke louder than words, the ones that showed them that love was not just a feeling, but a journey. And they had walked that journey together, side by side, heart to heart, for the rest of their lives. As time went on, Robert and Lily's connection only deepened. The years added layers to their love, giving it the richness of shared memories and the wisdom of lived experiences. They had built a life that was as full of simple joys as it was of extraordinary moments. They had learned over the years to find beauty in both the ordinary and the extraordinary, whether it was watching the sunrise together or taking long walks under the stars. There were still days when life threw challenges their way. There were moments when doubt crept in, when the pressures of life weighed heavily. But in those moments, they found strength in each other, in the quiet support they offered, and in the unspoken understanding that no matter what life brought, they would face it together. One crisp autumn evening, many years after their first meeting in the cafe, Robert stood before an easel, working on a new painting. His brushstrokes were filled with purpose, capturing the light and warmth that seemed to surround Lily. She sat across from him, watching as she always did, her eyes full of admiration for his art, for his dedication, and for the love that had flourished between them. "Do you ever get tired of me painting you?" he asked with a playful grin, though his eyes held a tenderness that made his question feel like more than just a joke. Lily smiled, her heart overflowing with love for the man who had become the center of her world. "No, Robert, I never get tired of it, because every time you paint me, you capture not just my image, but everything that I feel when I'm with you." He paused, his brush hovering in the air as he looked at her, his heart full. "I love you," he said, the words as simple and as profound as the very air they breathed. "I love you too," Lily whispered back, and in that moment, the room felt filled with the kind of quiet peace that only true love could bring. Years passed, and the two of them aged gracefully, their love never losing its spark. They grew old together, their hair turning silver, their faces lined with the years of laughter and sorrow they had shared. But their eyes, when they looked at each other, still held the same tenderness, the same quiet understanding that had first brought them together all those years ago. One winter evening, as they sat by the fire, Robert took Lily's hand in his fingers trembling ever so slightly. The years had been kind to them, but there were moments when the passage of time seemed to catch up in ways they couldn't ignore. "I'm glad we have this time," Robert said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "Every moment with you, Lily, has been a gift, and if I could live it all again, I would." Lily squeezed his hand, her heart full. "I wouldn't change a thing, Robert. You are my heart, my home. You've made my life more beautiful than I could have ever imagined." As the fire crackled softly in the hearth, the world outside quiet and still, Robert and Lily sat in peaceful silence. The love that had begun so many years ago in a small cafe, on a rainy afternoon, had woven itself through every corner of their lives. It had shaped them, healed them, and filled their hearts with a joy that had only grown deeper with time. In the quiet moments, when it was just the two of them, they would sometimes talk about the life they had built, the memories, the travels, the laughter, and even the challenges they had faced. But more often than not, they simply sat together, the bond between them so strong that words were no longer necessary. Their love was something that transcended time, something that could never be fully captured in any painting, any story, or any spoken words. And as the years passed and the days grew shorter, Robert and Lily knew, without a doubt, that their love would remain, even beyond the end of their earthly journey. They had built something eternal, something unbreakable, something that would live on in every brushstroke, every shared moment, and every whisper of the wind that carried their love through the years. Their story, a beautiful romance of shared hearts, would live on, a testament to the power of love and the magic of finding your soulmate in the most unexpected of places. And as Robert and Lily held each other close, their hearts beating in perfect harmony, they knew that love, true and unshakable, was the greatest masterpiece they had ever created. The seasons continued to change around Robert and Lily, each one adding another layer of memories to their shared history. With each passing day, they grew more deeply rooted in each other's lives, like two trees growing side by side, their branches intertwining, supporting each other, and reaching towards the same sun. Though the years had taken their toll on their bodies, their connection only seemed to grow stronger. One warm spring afternoon, as they sat in the garden they had tended together over the years, Robert gently took Lily's hand in his touch as tender as it had always been. "Do you remember the first time we sat here?" he asked, his voice soft with nostalgia. Lily's smile was soft but radiant, a smile that still had the power to light up the world around her. "How could I forget? I remember thinking that this little garden, with its flowers and the way the sun filtered through the trees, was the perfect place to start our life together." Robert nodded, his eyes reflecting the same quiet joy that had filled them all those years ago. "I've spent my whole life trying to capture beauty in my paintings, but I think I've only truly understood what beauty is since you've been in my life. You, Lily, are the masterpiece I've been painting all along." Lily's eyes filled with tears, her heart swelling at the depth of his words. "And you, Robert, have been my artist, my muse, and the love of my life. I never thought I would find something as beautiful as this." They sat in silence, watching the garden come to life as the birds chirped and the flowers bloomed, just as their love had over the years, steadily, quietly, and with a beauty that only time could create. It was in these moments that they realized that their love had never needed grand gestures or dramatic moments. It had been built in the quiet, everyday acts, those shared glances, the way they held each other when the world felt too heavy, the laughter that filled their home, and the gentle, unspoken understanding that passed between them. As they grew older, they began to spend more time at home, finding comfort in the simplicity of their life together. They spent long afternoons reading together, exchanging stories of the past and reminiscing about the adventures they had shared. Their love had become a comfortable routine, a dance that had been perfected over time. One evening, when the sun was setting in a cascade of colors, Lily sat by the window, looking out at the horizon, her mind drifting to the future. She felt a sense of peace, knowing that their love would remain strong no matter what the days ahead might bring. The thought of life without Robert one day was difficult to bear, but she knew that their love, the kind of love they had built, would never fade. It was woven into every memory, every laugh, and every touch. Robert, sensing her quiet reflection, joined her by the window, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "What's on your mind, my love?" Lily leaned back into him, feeling the warmth of his embrace, and smiled softly. "I was thinking about how much I love you, and how, even after all these years, I don't think I'll ever fully understand the depth of the love we share. It's as if we've grown into one person, a perfect harmony." Robert kissed the top of her head, his heart full. "I feel the same way. You are everything I never knew I needed, and more than I could have ever imagined. You've made me a better person, and I will be forever grateful for you, Lily." The years passed, and their lives continued with a gentle rhythm. They made sure to take care of each other, knowing that their time together was the most precious gift they had. They never took a moment for granted, never let a day go by without reminding each other of their love. One evening, as the stars sparkled above them, Robert and Lily sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, gazing at the night sky. They had seen countless sunsets and sunrises together, and each one had been just as beautiful as the last. Lily turned to Robert, her voice soft but certain. "Do you think we've lived a good life?" Robert's eyes met hers, his heart swelling with the certainty that they had. "We've lived the best life, Lily, because we've lived it together." And as the stars twinkled in the vast expanse above them, they knew that their love story had been one for the ages, a quiet, enduring love that would last forever, even when the years no longer allowed them to walk side by side. Their love had become a timeless melody, a song that would play on, even when they were no longer there to sing it. It was in the laughter of their children, the fond memories of their friends, and the stillness of the world around them. A love that transcended time and space, and was etched into the fabric of the universe. And so, when the inevitable came, when their time on this earth drew to a close, they left behind a legacy, not of riches or grand achievements, but of a love that had been lived fully with every fiber of their being.